Good evening, everyone. I'm Pastor Gani Coronia, inviting you again into our online Bible study here at Christian Faith Church in West Crami as well as in Taytay, Rizal. Due to the lockdown situation again, the government imposed a general community quarantine because of the recurrence and lingering variant of what we call COVID-19 virus. So we are still online, and our scheduled activity tonight is Bible study at Christian Faith Church. So I encourage you again to take your notebooks and ball pens and encourage you to participate and join in our Bible study. You might find some interesting and important points to jot down and in your notebook. Tonight we are going to study about plagues and pestilences. I repeat, the title of our Bible study is Plagues and Pestilences. Our text is found in Luke chapter 21, verse 7 to 11. So if you have your Bibles with you, please join me as we read our text for our Bible study activity tonight. And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign will there be when these things shall come to pass? And he said, Take heed that ye be not deceived, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time draweth near. Go ye not therefore after them. But when ye shall see, or ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified. For these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet. And then he said unto them, Nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. In the preceding verses, some of his disciples were remarking about how the temple was adorned with beautiful stones and with gifts dedicated to God. But Jesus said, As for what you see here, the time will come when not only one stone will be left on another. Every one of them will be thrown down. The disciples asked Jesus, when will this be? Or when will this transpire? And what signs will there be when these shall come to pass? Jesus revealed to his disciples future events by way of prophecy, and he predicted the particular destruction of the temple. Of course, this was fulfilled in 70 AD when the Romans destroyed this temple that the disciples admired. He also forewarned them to watch out and not be deceived. Why? Because Jesus said, For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and the time is near. Do not follow them. He then followed his previous statements with other signs of the end times, such as rumors of wars and revolutions. And he calmed down his disciples by saying, Do not be frightened. These things must happen first, but the end will not come right away. Then he said to them, Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. Most of these phenomena, destructive and catastrophic events, have already happened, and these keep recurring frequently since then until now. We will focus our attention in this message, however, to one of these events that Jesus predicted to happen in human history, which is quite pertinent and relevant to our present situation in our world right now. I'm talking about pestilences. What are pestilences? Pestilences are contagious or infectious epidemic diseases that is virulent and devastating. Sometimes these are akin to plagues like the Bubonic Plague. The Bubonic Plague is also known as the Black Death. It was one of the most devastating pandemics in human history, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 75 to 200 million people in Eurasia, peaking in Europe from 1347 to 1351. The Black Death was a disease caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis that circulated among wild rodents where they live in great numbers and density. Plague among humans arises when rodents in human habitation, normally black rats, become infected. The Black Death is thought to have originated in the dry plains of Central Asia, where it traveled along the Silk Road, reaching Crimea by 1343. It is probable that the Mongols and the merchant caravans inadvertently brought the plague from Central Asia to Europe. The Black Death was stopped through implementation of quarantine. Our source in this information is from Wikipedia. There was also another and similar, almost equally deadly viruses outbreak in our modern times. The Spanish flu was an unusually deadly influenza pandemic, the first of the two influenza pandemics involving H1N1 influenza virus. It infected 500 million people around the world, including people on the remote Pacific Island and the Arctic. 50 to 100 million people died of this pandemic. There was also another epidemic called Ebola from Africa, HIV/AIDS, MERS, and SARS in 2003, which killed more than 800 people around the world. Today, the world is in an emergency health situation because of the outbreak of the dreaded novel coronavirus, which has become a pandemic. Medical experts believe that this new strain of virus originated in the seafood market in the city of Wuhan, home to 11 million people in Hubei province in China. Wuhan residents are struggling with medical supplies. There was no vaccine yet available to counteract this virus at the beginning of the outbreak. This coronavirus came from snakes, bats, civet cats, and other exotic wild animals being sold and eaten by people there in the seafood market, according to medical experts. The outbreak started in the latter part of December 2019. In March 2020, the outbreak spread around the world in many countries. The Chinese authorities imposed a lockdown on Wuhan City. This means that no one is allowed to get out of the city and no one is allowed to enter also. This deadly virus is transmissible from human to human, and one carrier can infect up to 3 persons. The mystery of this novel coronavirus is that it infects and spreads before symptoms show. People can be infected and carrying the virus without knowing it because there is no symptom yet. As of today, March 24, 2021, there are more than 122 million cases reported, and there are already more than 2,700,000 confirmed deaths around the world since a year ago. The World Health Organization issued a global health emergency and of international concern. Many countries in Asia, Europe, Australia, and even in the US reported cases of these pandemic and evacuations through airlift of other countries' citizens who live in Wuhan are ordered by their countries. US citizens who are airlifted from Wuhan City will undergo mandatory 14-day quarantine in an airbase in Alaska. China rapidly built 2 hospitals with 2,600 capacity in order to accommodate the increasingly growing number of coronavirus patients. Doctors, nurses, and other paramedics from different parts of China are called to duty to help the emergency crisis in Wuhan. Many airlines from different countries ban all flights from China. Here in the Philippines, the recorded cases already reached more than 500,000 and deaths of more than 12 million people today. Today, there is a COVID-19 variant proliferating around and a rapid surge of cases that alarm our government authorities. General community quarantine is imposed and mandatory lockdown in many Metro Manila cities and towns again in order to prevent further spread of this dreaded virus. What is a plague? In biblical perspective, a plague is an affliction sent by God as punishment for sin and disobedience. In most cases, the affliction is an epidemic of disease. The first mention of a plague in the Bible was that sent on Pharaoh for protection of Sarah, Abram's wife. The next plagues were 10 afflictions experienced by the Egyptians when Pharaoh refused to release the Hebrew people from bondage. Later, during the Exodus, a plague was sent upon the Hebrews for making and worshiping a golden calf. Another occurred because of the murmuring against food which God provided for them. To sum up, the words plagues and pestilences seem to refer to contagious diseases of epidemic proportions which God sent occasionally as instruments of judgment upon His people as well as the pagan nations of the ancient world. As Christians, therefore, can we categorically say or conclude that the coronavirus virus pandemic in China is God's punishment or judgment upon the Chinese people? What is the basis of this judgment? What is the sin of the Chinese people that they suffer this plague? Or others say that the sin of the China is their human rights violation and atrocities against other ethnic people. Personally, I will not pass that judgment. And besides, I am not in a position to judge. What is important now is how can we protect ourselves against this lethal virus spreading through human-to-human transmission and travel. Besides travel ban, other countries connected to China by land mass closed their borders already to prevent the spread of these virus. Although there are now available vaccines to counteract this COVID-19 virus, still there are prevailing variants that increase the surge of infected cases as a result. Therefore, strict general community quarantine and lockdown are imposed again. Wearing face masks, face shields, physical distancing, and strict observance of frequent washing of hands are mandatory. There were protective measures and antidote in similar cases during the time of the Israelites. When God brought upon the Egyptians the plague of death upon every of their firstborn, he instructed Moses to kill a lamb for each Israelite household. And they are to take some of the blood of the lamb and put the blood of the lamb in the sides and tops of their door frames of the house where they eat the lambs that night. The blood will be a sign for you on the houses where you are, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch you when I strike Egypt. What is the antidote when infected by the COVID-19 virus? We now have choices of different vaccines coming from China, which is Sinovac, and there is also Pfizer and AstraZeneca, just to name a few. Effectivity, however, of these vaccines is still an issue. But there is one from the Bible. Remember the Israelites who complained about their food against God and against Moses when they were in the wilderness journey. The Lord sent venomous snakes among them. They beat the people, and many Israelites died. The people came to Moses and said, "We sinned when we spoke against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take the snakes away from us." So Moses prayed for the people. The Lord said to Moses, "Make a bronze replica of snake and put it on a pole. When anyone was bitten by a snake and looked at the bronze snake, he lived." Can we invoke these ancient aforementioned remedies for our contemporary maladies? Only believe and have faith in God. If you've been blessed by these Bible study messages, you can touch the like button as well as the share button. Better yet, subscribe to our Christian Faith Compendium in YouTube, and you will find more spiritual and faith-building messages there. Meantime, may I remind everyone to please seriously, carefully observe and don't be careless by not wearing your face mask, face shields, and observe physical or social distancing, frequently washing your hands when you reach home, especially when after you go out. If you have any questions with regards to our Bible study, please don't hesitate to ask your questions, or if you have even objections for that matter. But most importantly, brothers and sisters here and from abroad, if you have any prayer requests, do not hesitate to put your prayer requests on the comment section, and we will be more than willing to pray and agree with you in your petitions to God. We believe that our God is a prayer answering God. May I remind also every one of our brothers and sisters, because of the recurrence of this dreaded COVID-19 virus, there is again a strict community quarantine, general community quarantine, otherwise lockdowns in many places of Metro Manila. And please observe all these precautions. God bless you and thank you for listening. Have a nice day.